guys, so it's late August and I'm here in Seattle, just exploring the city, and this is the Seattle Design Festival, and this particular exhibit, these are seeded papers, and it says they just need 4 hours of direct sunlight, and then you can get snapdragon, petunia, beard tongue, thyme, poppy. So it's kind of late in the season for me, but I think I'm gonna try to plant this at my garden at home and see what happens. I mean, frost is not until November, so I should probably be able to get a few flowers. So this will be like my souvenir from Seattle.
Plant somewhere meaningful to you, or weave it back into the installation, and we will plant it for you after the festival is over. So you can either take it or you can leave it here.
You can leave it. Hey, I am back in Pennsylvania with my seed strip that I brought back from Seattle, and I'm going to plant this now. We're now about a week into September, so things are just starting to get cooler already. It's still, the high today was 81, so we still have some warm weather, but we're definitely sort of at the tail end of the height of the growing season. But I'm still going to plant this strip, and we may get some flowers before it gets cool. What I'm going to do today is take out my summer squash plants. They're pretty much done, and also looks like they got a pretty bad bout of powdery mildew. I've been traveling, so I was in Alaska, and then immediately after that was gone for another week on the West Coast for a business trip. So I really haven't been home, and the garden is pretty neglected. Okay, so here is the strip of flowers with my good intention to make good choices. Planted right there. Just gonna go ahead and cover that up. So just thought I'd point out, this is the fence behind the raised beds, but my neighbor has a fig tree, and you can see all the figs that are growing, that are peeking over the fence. So I just think that's really cool. So here's a little bit of an update on the rest of the garden. So the pumpkin vine has kind of taken over a little bit, but it's also having some issues. And I think that it's the powdery mildew, but you can see that the powdery mildew is pretty bad here. And I just have been busy and I've been neglecting it. So I could lose the whole plant. It does look like another pumpkin is forming. And I'm just looking throughout the plant to see if there are any other pumpkins forming. I don't see any other ones. That's probably my best shot right there for getting a pumpkin. So I did figure out how the groundhog was getting in. He was coming through. He had dug a hole over here, which I plugged with gravel, but you can kind of see that he had even started forming the hole again. So I put this pot here to block it, and hopefully that's been keeping him out. So over here it's kind of been taken over by this pumpkin plant. But if you remember, I have this container over here of flowers. And when I was kind of cleaning up the garden, I noticed that there was a tomato plant growing out of this flower container. I did not plant a tomato plant here, so somehow a tomato seed got in here and grew. And when I realized that there was a tomato plant growing in here, I put a cage around it just to support it. And there are 2 little green tomatoes. I don't know if it's going to get hot enough for them to actually turn red now, but that was totally unexpected and not planned. In my compost heap, which is back there were a lot of tomato plants growing in there, and there were red tomatoes, but I had no way of getting to them, and I don't know if I would eat tomatoes from the compost, but I did get tomatoes this year. Totally did not do anything to plan for tomatoes, but that was the case. So I got a dehydrator. So I plan to take my sage, my very large sage bush, and take some sage from that and dehydrate that. So I'm really excited about that project. This taro plant right here, I bought it at the Asian sort of like flea festival thing last summer, and kind of never put it in the ground, kind of forgot about it, thought it had died, but then it was in this pot and the leaves started kind of popping up again. And like first I thought it was a weed, and then I remembered, oh yeah, that's probably the taro plant that I bought. So I just put it in the ground. This is a perennial, so it will die once it gets cold, but it will come back again next year. And again, I thought this was a weed when it was in the pot, so I kept picking the leaves, but it should come back next year, and if I don't touch it, it should be like kind of big and have big leaves. And I know that you can do something with the roots of the taro plant, which I will have to kind of learn. But ideally, like my entire raised beds will one day be just like all perennial vegetables. So this is one step in getting me closer to that direction. Hey boo boo, what you looking at? What you garden? He's my little buddy. Oh, okay. Hi. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave you this week. I will check in next week. Hopefully I will have been able to spend a little bit more time in the garden. Hopefully that seed strip will have started to grow. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Hey, so I'm at Pennypack Farm this morning. It's a local farm about 5 miles away from the house. We participate in the farm share, which means we get weekly vegetables. And part of our duty as members of the farm share is we have to do 4 hours of volunteer work out in the farm. So today I'm helping to harvest the acorn squash. So what the farmers here told me is that there was powdery mildew all over these vines, and once you get powdery mildew, there's not much you can do. Also it's probably too late for any pumpkins to grow because they take 120 days. So that little one that's growing, it's probably not going to become a pumpkin in time, so I'm probably just going to have to go to a regular pumpkin patch to get my pumpkins this year. Also here at the farm, they rotate all of their vegetables. I was planning on this anyway, but in my own raised beds, I won't do squash probably for at least a year, maybe even 3 years, just to play things safe. So beautiful day out here on the farm, and in addition to helping, I'm learning a lot as well.